Fellas, you got no friends to queue with? Same. But just because you're riding solo in Marvel Rivals doesn't mean you have to lose like you are. These are going to be some of the best heroes to help carry your team when you're flying completely friendless. Now, I will say this till the day I die. If you are solo queuing, the best thing you can do is to be flexible. So whether that means you're flexible in the role that you fill or the hero that you have to pick, being flexible is going to be the best thing that you can do. Because if you are a one-trick Spider-Man, for example, if your Spider-Man gets banned or your team already has 4 DPS, you're going to lose the game. Starting off, we're going to look at the supports. Presently, there are 9 of them. I find that as you do move up in the ranks, you start to have people that are more comfortable with playing support roles, or at the very least, decent enough to do well in them. And I think the best support at the moment has to be Luna Snow. Now, she does get banned a little bit, and I do tend to ban her a lot in ranked play, but when it comes to healing output, I think Luna Snow is one of the best ones. On top of that, she has her Ice Ball that can freeze an enemy, and you have to know her ultimate, which stops the enemy team for 12 seconds. And then she has her attack bonus as well, which can be comboed to kill enemies that are in it. Her base attack is very strong and can crit. And then if you do have the divers on your team, she has her little snowflake idol, which can passively heal them as long as you're healing, no matter where they are. And then in big team fights, if a lot of your team has damage, she has her Ice Arts ability to heal multiple allies at once as well as damage. And something I think that is severely underrated is her movement ability, where if she moves forward for a little bit, she starts skating and goes faster. Out of the 3 supports that you should learn how to play, Luna Snow should be one of them, because they are, without a doubt, one of the best supports presently in the game, although they do get banned just a little bit. Next up, we do have Invis Woman. Invis Woman is really good for crowd control. She has her shield, which can help block some of the other ultimates. And if you do need to play support, Invis Woman and Luna are 2 very solid picks. Her ultimate puts up a giant cylinder that heals everyone within it, slows down enemies, and prevents them from seeing inside of it. And so if Luna is picked or banned, I think Invis Woman is a good solid second choice because they're easy to pick up, not too complicated to play, and the skill ceiling for her is honestly very high between her shield and her push-pull abilities. On top of which, she gets amazing damage and healing output, making her an easy choice, especially compared to someone like Adam Warlock. Not that I'm downing on Adam Warlock in any capacity. I think he's one of the most fun characters in the game, but in a 2-2-2 comp, he is not really someone that you want. And now I do think an honorable mention can be Rocket, but the third support that you should learn in case one of them is banned and someone else is playing the other is Loki. Loki can be tough to learn and play, especially with managing his clones, but he gets amazing damage output, amazing healing output, and he has his rune abilities that are like a mini Luna ult, on top of which his ultimate can make him become any other character that are presently in the game, allowing you to go on the offensive or defensive. And while I do think Luna and Invis Woman are the better choice overall, because you actually do get their support ultimates, Loki is still a fantastic choice, especially if you do happen to have a Luna in the game. If your teammate's a Luna, you can also Luna ultimate, giving your team effectively 24 seconds of no death time. The only thing that you really need to manage is be sure to actually heal your teammates and don't focus solely on damaging. These 3 supports are all very good, very meta-relevant characters. They'll take you very far in ranked play, and especially if you are solo queuing, you want to make sure at least one of these heroes are in the game at any time to help give your team that competitive edge. And while they're not the easiest to pick up and learn, they are very effective and you get a lot of use and utility out of them. And so while these 3 heroes are very good picks and you can choose any one of them to play at any time, they do offer different utility for the game. Loki is very good, especially if your team is getting dive, as well as stopping ultimates. He's also very good for switching to an offensive side of things, very good in close fights. However, a spot where Loki does fall at is he's not very good with dealing with flyers. Invis Woman is a nice medium ground. She has a lot of crowd control ability, which is fantastic to have. She offers great team ups, and she does put out a good and medium amount of healing as well as a medium amount of damage. And she has abilities to, at the very least, heal the flyers. But if she does get dived on, you have very little time to really deal with it. And now where Luna does shine from the other 2 is her healing ability. Her ultimate is very strong and disgusting. She does have her freeze ability to kind of slow down an enemy for a little bit, and she can somewhat deal with someone who is attacking her. Luna isn't the best for the offensive, but she's very good defensively. She's not really going to be crowd controlling, but she will be able to keep your team alive, especially passively if they happen to go off and dive and flank. It's going to be up to you to decide and figure out what is best for your team, but at the very least, as a general, any of these 3 characters will be good regardless. Now, if you are solo queuing, I find that DPS is a role that you won't get to fill all that much. It'll happen sporadically, and it's a very good thing to be able to fill that role when you do need, or especially if your team does communicate and says like, hey, I need to switch to someone else. Being able to fill the DPS role isn't something that is required, but will be very handy come time. I do want to give an honorable mention to Mr. Do It For You Fantastic. Feels like he's impossible to kill, and he does have a lot of survivability, plus being able to deal somewhat with the flyers and somewhat with the divers. But he's very good on the front line. He's a lot to manage. Ultimate is kind of weh, but a very fun pick, but not one of the best picks. Now, if you haven't learned any of the DPS yet, one of the best people you can pick up is going to be the Punisher. He got some serious buffs this season, with his basic attack having more ammo, more damage, less bloom. Punisher is going to be someone who's fantastic for getting picks, dealing with the flyers, using his shotgun to deal a ton of damage to whoever's up close to him, especially the tanks. He does have some decent movement with his hook shot, and then he has his turret, which can help hold a point or get out a ton of damage anyways. When it comes to DPS, dealing damage, Punisher is a fantastic pick because he also can get the picks on top of it rather easy. And in a season of flyers, Punisher is a very, very good pick. Not much more to say really, he's very easy to pick up and someone that you should learn just in case your team needs more damage output. Now, a solid pick almost any time is Namor. Namor is someone who can help deal with the divers, with the flankers, with the flyers. And then if you want to play him a little bit more tightly, you actually can flank pretty well with Namor. Beginning of season 2 was full of divers, and this season, for the most part of it, was flyers, and now I find it's going back to divers. Namor shines beautifully with that. And now, especially if there's a team up with the Hulk, that's even better for you. But this will be someone to help deal with the Black Panther, the Spider-Man, the Magic, the Psylocke, and anyone who's flying. That alone is worth so much in the game at the moment. He's very easy to pick up. He does have some survivability, not much movement. However, he can be a pain because you do got to keep track of your squid management. And then on top of that, if you are just in a regular team fight, everyone's on the ground, not diving, he's very good for singling out targets and getting a ton of damage off. Not much more I can really say about Namor for what you need. He's good for constant pressure and he's good for protecting your backline. And if your team happens to have a very weak front line or your team is getting dived a lot, Namor is going to shine and help keep your supports from not tilting. And that's going to take you a very long way. Now, I wasn't sure if I wanted Hela or Hawkeye for the third one, but I think Hela is a better choice because she is easier to play. She has an ability to get out in case she's being attacked, which is a godsend. Her ultimate is very strong. It 2-taps any of the squishies. And then with her basic attack, if you land headshots, it's basically 2 shots, otherwise it's 3 hits to a body. And she attacks rather fast. She's not hard to use, not hard to play. Her shooting can be a little bit awkward at first, not too hard to handle. And she is someone who can deal with a lot of the enemy backline as well as the enemy flyers. And in this game, if you don't know it yet, getting picks is going to be one of the most important things. Getting in a ton of damage but no picks is absolutely useless to your team and only benefits the enemy team. And so while Hela doesn't really offer much in terms of protection, what she does offer is someone who will be getting the picks and the kills from the relative safety of your team's backline, allowing them to provide that constant pressure. However, she is banned quite a bit, and for good reason. But if you wanted to get really, really good with just one DPS, Hela is a good pick for that. And a role that makes or break just about any game, we got the tanks of Marvel Rivals. Now, who is the best tank in the game? It's Emma Frost, without a doubt. She gets banned quite a bit because of it. Very strong offensively, has decent range to help somewhat mitigate the flyers. She has a shield to deal with the projectiles, which is just gorgeous. I find her ultimate needs to be comboed, so it's only kind of meh. But she's able to deal with the divers, which a lot of the other roles can't do. So if you have a Black Panther diving your backline, Emma Frost can actually deal with it. You got a Magic, Emma Frost can deal with it. You have a Squirrel Girl pelting your team, Emma Frost can deal with it. You have a Flyer attacking your team, Emma Frost can deal with it. On top of which, the more she does her basic attack, the more damage she does on top of it. And if she's being targeted, she has her metal form to take less damage and to deal more melee offensive abilities. She is not hard to pick up and learn. She can be a little bit daunting, especially at first. I find majority of the tanks are. But Emma Frost will take you a very long way. She does get banned a little bit, not as much as some of the other tanks. But Emma Frost is a very strong frontline tank, one that is good for just about any occasion, and she is good enough to play as a solo tank. Not that you want that, but she can. And so if you haven't learned any of the tanks yet, Emma Frost easily has to be one of the best choices for you to do. And of course, this has to be a shock to absolutely nobody. We got Magneto. Magneto has very good burst damage, and I think that's underappreciated. He can do his basic attack, secondary attack, basic attack, get out a massive amount of damage. He has bubbles he can throw on himself or on his backline to protect them. So if they're trying to get an ultimate off or they're being targeted out, that gives him some sort of protection to keep him alive. And then he has this big wall shield for a second and a half, basically stop all projectiles from getting past it. And then of course you've had to have seen the clips by now. Fear Magneto. Someone said fear Mag's neat toes to me one time and I never got past it. Charges up a big ass ball, sucking up all the enemy projectiles, and then you biff it at someone. His ultimate is a little complicated. The main goal of his ultimate is to suck up enemy projectiles and instill fear into the enemy team. That is the only objective of his ultimate. What about the actual getting picks with it? That is a bonus. That is not guaranteed. You can put in a lot of time, a lot of effort, and hopefully get a pick with it, but that is a bonus. Magneto is a very easy tank to pick up and play. He's not hard, not complicated. You do get to lead your shots just a little bit, but he's very defensive as well as offensive. He's good as a front line. He's good as a solo tank. On top of which, he can protect your team without a moment's notice, and that is something that is severely underrated. That is something a lot of the other tanks cannot do. And then last up, I'm going to combine them both because they do get banned a fair amount anyways. But if you were to learn one of them, it's a very nice surprise pick that the enemy team won't really expect. And that is both Groot and Bruce Banner. Looking at Groot, you got his walls. He looks very daunting to play. He can be a little bit tricky at first, but he's fairly easy to play. You do have to really keep track of his walls, and that can be a little bit of a pain. And he does get banned quite a bit for good reason, but what he offers is a ton of health. He does a good amount of damage, and then if you do play with his walls, that allows him to 1, heal himself, and then 2, cut off enemy lines. I would say just a little bit of crowd control with it. If there's 2 lanes, 2 pathways for enemies to go through, throwing up one of his big walls will, more likely than not, force the enemy team to go through the other pathway. You can throw up walls to prevent the enemy team from healing someone that's in the front line, and then you can use his walls to really put in a lot of damage onto someone as well. His ultimate is very, very good comboed. I don't think he's necessarily a great solo tank, although he can be, but he is a pick that can offer a lot to your team, and he's very easy to play. Although if you do have an enemy Wolverine on the other team, good luck. Good luck because you're going and you're dying. And then of course we got Bruce Banner, someone who gets banned a lot. Great team up with Namor. He had a great team up with Doctor Strange at one point, a great team up with Iron Man at one point, and now he has a great team up with Namor. Hulk is very, very good, and I think he's underappreciated by those that don't know how to play him. He has fantastic movement. He gets in, he gets out, punches the crap out of the enemy team, has a shield, prevents damage, and boosts his ult charge. His ultimate? Yeah, clap and punch. You do that once and the enemy squishy is dead. I think it gets banned a lot primarily from his team up that he always seems to have a good one of. But if you haven't played a lot of the Hulk, I find he is a little bit complicated to really get the most out of. He has a high skill ceiling, I find, but he's someone who can somewhat deal with the flyers. He's someone who can help prevent damage to your team, but where he does a lot of his work is jumping into the enemy backlines, either getting a pick or causing a lot of disruption, and then getting out to get healed. Almost in the same vein to Captain America, just with more viability, and he can also hang on walls. The Hulk definitely is not a good solo tank, and I think that's why he's tied for me with Groot. But he has a lot of health, he can do a lot of damage, he can offer shields, his ultimate is actually very strong, and then he has a cool feature where if he does lose all of his health, he goes to Bruce Banner, where he can do enough to get his Hulk form back, or very likely, in the case of just about any time, you're going to be grouped up on by 6 people. It's unfortunate, but you got to build up your rage somehow, and that's a good way to do it. Now, of course, you can play any character that you do want to play, and if a certain character calls out to you, you don't have to follow just these characters. If you want to learn and play Venom, definitely do it. He's a fun character to play. You want to learn how to play Thor and do well with him? You definitely can do it. He's a fun character. If you're having an off day and you just want someone who can deal a ton of damage if he gets died, but you just want to kind of sit back and relax, Rocket Raccoon is a very good pick for that. There's something like 39 odd choices at the moment with a new character coming every month. If you find someone who calls to you who you do well with that you just click with, absolutely play them. But if you're going into ranked and you're not very good yet with too many characters and you want to be flexible because you're solo playing, these 10 characters will definitely take you the furthest, as they're viable in just about any team comp, and then you can kind of figure out what the enemy team is doing to somewhat counter it. And if you're trying to figure out roughly when you should get a friend to do ranked with you, I think roughly around Diamond 2, I noticed there was a certain change in the atmosphere with ranked, because it was rough for a long time. Otherwise, if you throw yourself into rank enough times, I think you should be able to rank up anyways, is word on the street. Being flexible to be able to play any role with at least a few characters in each role will definitely take you the furthest. And these 10 characters that I showed you today will be some of the best characters you can pick, especially if you are just starting out. And it's best to learn a few for each role, because if one does get banned, or if someone takes, your one trick, or if someone takes the one character you know how to play, you don't want to be the reason why your team loses. You can't control the other 5 people on your team, but you can control what you do, and being flexible, I think, is the best way to go for the average person. And that's a wrap on the best heroes to play as a solo queue player. Hit that like button if you're still watching, subscribe for more videos like this if you haven't already, and stay tuned for the next one. YouTube thinks you like this video next. Let me know if you do.